stars are from Capelton Hill. Now, where is that, I hear you ask? Well, here is stars man Torquil Campbell to tell you.
We're gonna pave the road, a pretty shade of gold.
So congratulations on the new album. It's actually it's out today here in Auckland because
That's
we're
right.
already at the 27th.
Right, of course.
So there you go.
Yeah, thank you.
And what have you got planned for the day?
We're going to go out to North Hatley, which is where a lot of this record is written about, which is a little village in the Eastern Townships, about 2 hours from North Hatley. And we're going to play a little show in a cafe there, which we're going to stream live across the world to people. So
cool.
That's how we're choosing to celebrate. And then we'll probably all have some dinner and toast each other's survival and marvel at the fact that we're still doing this after all these years and we're still making music.
Absolutely. Because you guys have been doing it for like 20 years, right?
Almost 22 years now. Yeah, unbelievably. But, I've been friends with Chris Seligman and Evan since I was 8 years old. So in a way, it just feels like a part of a continuum of life. We've been hanging out all our lives pretty much. And the music's just a side product of us hanging out,
All right. Now, North Hatley isn't the most well-known town in Canada, So what is it about North Hatley that has caused you to write an album about it?
It's a place that my family have had a house for over 100 years. My great-great-grandfather, who's an American, came up to that part of Quebec and built a house there in 1904. And it's somewhere I've spent every summer of my life. And in a life of total change, I was born in England, then I moved to America, then Canada, then back to America, back to Canada. It's the only place that's been a constant in my life. And it's also been a place that's very important to the band. We wrote Set Yourself on Fire there and recorded some of it there. And it's always been a place we retreat to, and nothing ever changes. It's just a little village in the hills, and nothing seems to change there. And I think the record is very much looking at how things change. Inevitably, loss occurs. You lose the things you love. You lose the people you love. That's the price of being alive. And that pop music is one of the few things that lets you kind of go back to a place, a moment in time, and feel that feeling of never having changed and take you to another, to the past, basically. So From Capelton Hill is a way of saying from the past, I think, really.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people, with everything that's going on in the world, are going through similar feelings. So it's a timely thing to put on a record like this. Were you aware of that? Was that part of why it was made the way it was?
Yeah, I think so. When the whole shit hit the fan, as it were, and lockdown happened, and everybody, but particularly I think performing artists, were faced with the notion that the thing that defined who they were really may not happen anymore. I think we were faced with that very unexpected and very shocking moment of recognizing that the things you think are certain are not, and that the things that you rely on in life can be taken from you. And God knows, the news in the last couple of days has shown us that there is nothing so precious and nothing so beautiful that cannot be removed without any sense at all. And so I think there was a lot of time in the band spent thinking about what we'd done together and the preciousness of it, and wondering whether we would get to do it again. And a lot of these songs were written in that state of uncertainty and questioning what was next. I think everybody kind of did that. And now we know that what's next is complete fucking chaos. That's what's next. So
it seems to be.
Yeah, that seems to be what we're doing.
You wake
now.
up every day and it's like, what next?
It's too much. It's just too much. So I do think that there is a desire within everyone to slow things down right now and to stop letting the algorithm control our days and our nights and our thoughts and our lives, and start to respond to each other in person, in kind, in a sense of patience and, dare I say it, love, that I think that ultimately there's not, like Gil Scott-Heron said, the revolution will not be televised. It will not be online. It will not be brought to you by McDonald's. It will be inside us. And I think that we were spending a lot of time over the last couple of years trying to find that peace in ourselves, despite the fact that our identity to some degree had been removed from us,
Gotcha. Now, let's just take a quick peek at some of the tracks on the album, if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
of course.
It opens with something called, is it called palmistry?
Palmistry,
Is that
which is the art of
palmistry?
reading people's hands, right? Reading palms.
Right.
Yeah.
She slept in her car at Beachy Head. The indigo sky turned to fire. Then she gave in to desire. Mother and father never sleep. They watch and wait for the day to begin. Then the radio played a sweet serenade, and the sky crashed in.
I knew phrenology was reading the head, but it shows how much I. But it also has, if I'm not mistaken, a little clip from Séance on a Wet Afternoon, the film.
Yes.
Tell me how that all fits in together.
Well, I'm obsessed with ghosts. I've written a lot of ghost stories over the years in Stars music and other music that I've done, and I'm actually writing a play about ghosts at the moment because I discovered fairly recently that my great-grandfather on my dad's side was a spirit medium, a very famous spirit medium in Glasgow. And my dad is past 9 years now, and I began to be interested in the idea of trying to contact him. And so I think I've been thinking a lot about these notions of life after death and whether or not we can talk to the people who are gone. And Séance on a Wet Afternoon is just one of my favorite movies. I really love films from England from the 60s. There's so many great films made around there, Saturday Night and Sunday Morning and A Taste of Honey, and a lot of films that are very influential on me and that I've stolen a lot of ideas from. And this one in particular is a beautiful film about the desperation to have your act look real, to have whatever it is that you think is your gift be acknowledged by other people.
Was it magic or murder they planned at that séance on a wet afternoon?
When will I see her again?
What strange plan entered the mind of Myra Savage? What made her devoted husband so afraid?
Oh, God, oh, Jesus, take him before it's too late.
I think that, palmistry, being a psychic, reading tarot cards, all those things in a way are quite a lot like being an artist, in that you're trying to fool people into thinking you're telling the truth, when in fact you're just doing whatever it takes to get them to pay attention and give you a little money for it.
And pay you for it.
Yeah, and pay you, hopefully. And I love that I love that it's an act of faith to listen to music, and I love that it's an act of faith to make it. And I think that this movie, Séance on a Wet Afternoon, is a lot about those things. Everybody should watch it. It's really good. It's great for a wet afternoon. You should watch it on a wet afternoon. Really
I have
works
the urge
for a
to
wet
watch
afternoon.
it again now.
Yeah, it's a tremendous film. Richard Attenborough. It's great. It's great.
Right. Now the band is a 5-piece. There's you. Tell me about the other people in the band.
6 now,
and how
actually.
Oh, okay.
Six
even
now.
much
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
So tell me about the other people and how you all work together, what the relationship is within you musically.
Well, there's Patty, our drummer. There's Amy, the other singer. There's Chris Seligman, the keyboard player. There's Evan Cranley, the bass player. And then there's Chris McCarran, our guitar player. And I mean, we really do work together. That is how we write. We write. Every Stars song is touched by every member of Stars. There's a part of us in all of them. And we're connected in a way to all of them. And so, we are a kind of a real troupe, a real family, and that can be complicated sometimes, but it can also be. It also means that we all go into it with an equal level of commitment and care and investment in it. I think a lot of bands fade away because some people feel less committed than others people do, and
right.
And I think we are all in the same level of being dragged into this cult. So we kind of share the burden of that, you know.
So there's a tune on the album called Patterns, and there's a video that's attached to that. And I think you have some dancers, some choreography going on. I thought it was interesting. Dancers are mostly seated during it, which is a unique situation for dancers to be in. Tell me about that a little bit.
Lightning strikes twice in my life. The thunder rolls like it's scared, lying in my bed. Catch my head. What I wouldn't do for you, what we couldn't get through. You're beautiful when you cry.
Well, we found this wonderful young woman on YouTube who was dancing to one of our songs, and she does a lot of dance that is like hand-based and sort of movement-based. And we asked her to do this video for us, and she very kindly agreed. And so we love to bring that element to the music, that sense of movement and of physicality that I think a lot of music. We're not exactly a dance band, and so when we can find a way to connect dance to our music, we really enjoy it.
You mentioned that you guys aren't really a dance band, but there is a track called "Build a Fire" that's kind of dancey, and it also, I believe, is kind of a duet. So I'm interested in that track for its dance potential and also the way that you decide who's singing what.
And then it's time to stop. I never knew you could be that way. I never knew you would hurt me. I never knew you could be that way. I never knew you would hurt me.
Well, I mean, we're big dance music fans, and it's always been there in a way. But our main mission is to write pop songs, to write a perfect pop song. And as far as the duet goes, I mean, that's the core of what we do, really, is the conversation between these two voices. And like what makes us unique, if anything does, I think, is that ongoing conversation between Amy's voice or Amy's characters and my characters. And yeah, that's something that I love about being in this band, is that we never have one voice telling a story. There's always two perspectives within a song. And I think that helps to give the band, a kind of universality, or a way of, it gives people ways into the music, doors into the music that, something with a more individualistic voice might not do unless you very closely relate to it. But I think that Stars, we're focused on storytelling and we're focused on melody. And in order to do those things, you have to have options. So we always love writing duets because it's just a way of, shifting the camera angle around and showing you something different within the same song.
Cool. Now, these days, albums are made remotely at classic old studios, all by themselves, with everybody in the room together. How would you describe the way that this record was essentially put together?
Slowly, and in many places because of the pandemic. It started in our individual homes, and then it started at this jam space that I'm at, our place in Montreal, Zoomer. And that was where the guys were writing the music, but I wasn't with them, so they were sending me stuff through the email. Then we went to a classic studio here in Montreal called Break Glass Studios, which is run by Jace Lasik, who is from the Besnard Lakes, a great band here from Canada, and he produced the record for us and mixed it. And that's a place that we've made a couple of records, and it's been around for years, and it's sort of a legendary Montreal studio. Jace has amazing ears and is an amazing guy, a lovely, friendly. He's sort of like a psychedelic Big Bird. He's just a giant guy with lots of love in his heart and amazing ears. And so Jace guided us through the sort of last half of the record when we were finally able to get together and do it. We did it quite quickly. It was slow, and then quite quick. But all that time spent thinking about the songs, I think, really helped. And sometimes I think we have a tendency to be ruled by the cycle and ruled by the need to get music out and sort of rush things. And this was forced not to be a rush. And I think in a way it was better for it, you know. It just gave us time to listen and then listen again and make judgments not
Right.
based on reactions but on actual deep listening. So there's lots of musical ideas and stuff, I think, in the record that wouldn't have happened if we hadn't taken that time and worked with Jace.
So it sounds like you ticked all the boxes, worked independently, isolated, and in a classic studio. It's very
Yeah,
good.
I mean, that's sort of how you do it now, you know. It's like we've
Right.
tried the 7 weeks in a studio, and frankly, like when you're spending $600 a day, it's not the most creative thing if you don't have
Yep.
limitless money.
Yeah.
It makes you feel stressed out. So it's better to go into the studio feeling clear on what you're doing and allow yourself to benefit from what the studio has, which is reverb units and all those
Yeah.
things that you can't have. But if you're arguing about songwriting when you're in the studio, it's like
You're
putting a
wasting
pile
your
of
money.
money in the middle of the room and burning it, you know? So
Yep.
it was nice to have that time to figure out what was going on before we did that.
Cool. All righty. Now we'll go to the end of the album because we're coming to the end of the time that we have together.
Yeah.
There's a tune called I Need a Light that sounds like Amy is singing, and then Snowy Owl, which I'm assuming
Yeah.
you're singing. So why are those
Both of us
closing
sing
out the
Snowy
record?
Owl, yeah.
Yeah.
I Need the Light is this beautifully optimistic, kind of slightly sad song. I really love it because it's got such a great instrumentation, a kind of bed of real, like, Carly Simon 80s kind of LA synths, and there's it just sounds really nice.
I need the light to come in. Nowhere to go, so up we go. Oh, I need the light. It's coming down.
And I think we wanted to leave people, because it is quite an emotional record and it can be quite sort of draining, I think, this record. We wanted to give people a lift at the end and give them a sense of optimism. But Snowy Owl, which is the final song, is hardly optimistic. But I think it's part of a long story that if you listen to our records, you'll hear, you know, through Your Ex-Lover Is Dead, through Take Me to the Riot, through a whole bunch of songs, there are these two characters who've lived very extreme lives and always tried to be together and never found a way to make space for each other.
All of it gone, all in the past. All of the things that we thought would last. All of it gone, all in the past. All of the things that we thought would last forever. I know they're really gone.
Snowy Owl, in a strange way, is the kind of final chapter of their story, where they are in this town, back in the town they grew up in, and still unable to love themselves enough to be in love with each other. And I think that's something that, as you age, can be a big challenge for people. You know, you get to know yourself all too well, and you stop believing that anyone might overlook those flaws of yours and see the beauty in you. You know, as your face ages, as your body ages, it's hard to remember that there was somebody out there who once thought you were beautiful. And I think Snowy Owl is about two people trying to connect with each other who've had hard lives. And it just seemed like a human place to end the story.
Very nice. So what's next are you thinking in terms of what you're going to do next, or just getting the record out?
Well, we're going on
today
tour in June. We're going on tour down the West Coast, and we've got some shows this summer, festivals and stuff. We're going down the middle of the country in September, then we're going to do the east of the country in December, then we're going to Europe in February. But man, we've never played New Zealand, and it is number one on my bucket list of places to play. So
we're finally opening up the borders, so come on
That's
down.
right. I hope in the next year or two we can make it there, because it looks like such a fucking beautiful country, and I'm such a massive fan of so many bands from New Zealand, particularly the Chills, who are one of my favorite bands of all time. So I'd love to come and pay homage to
the great thing is all those bands are still around.
Yeah, man, the Clean, all those great bands. So many great bands
the Bats,
from New Zealand.
the Straight Jacket
yeah,
Fits,
the Bats.
all of them,
Yeah, incredible. And Yumi Zuma, who are a new band who I really love. One of my favorite bands around are from New Zealand. So I'd love to be able to come and say
Very
hi
good.
to
All righty.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you
have a
very
great
much, my
release day.
friend.
Thanks for spending time talking to me. I appreciate it. And good luck with
Thank
everything.
you for talking to us. Really appreciate it, Marty.